welcome to Kerry's Cards. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to show you how to make a double Z fold card. It sounds very grand, but actually once you go through the instructions you'll see it's a lot more simple but a very good effect. So I'm going to show you, we're going to use some of the beautiful balloons, papers and dies and some really nice bright colours, and I'm going to show you how to make this lovely 3D pop-up card. Folds flat and then obviously gives you the full effect when you open it up. So let's get starting. First things you'll need is your trimmer and some glue and some foam pads. We're going to use the stamp set here and some of the lovely dies I've collected just to show you a few examples there. And using the beautiful balloons design series paper, I'm actually going to use this one here today, this nice stripy one, but again all different choices for you. This one here I use like a confetti one, but I'm going to use the nice stripes one and see what the finished effect looks like. I'm going to use 3 different stamp pads for when I'm doing the ribbons at the top. I'll just put them to one side. So we've actually got Lemon Lime Twist, Azure Afternoon and Berry Burst. And to make the actual base of the card we just need 3 pieces of A4 paper, and I've chosen the Azure Blue, the Lemon Lime Twist and some white card. So let's get crafting. Right, so what I've done is my standard usual list of measurements here, but they will be included in the information below the video for a later date. So I'm going to talk through each bit by bit. If you need to pause, then pause, and we'll go from there. So the first thing we're going to do is take my base card. I'm going to use as the Azure Blue, Azure Afternoon Blue, and I need it to be 11 inches long. So let's open up, cut on the long side and cut it at 11 inches. I always keep my pieces, and you'll see why at the end or towards the end. Keep all your little strips. Then we've got our 11 inches here and we need to make a few cuts. So the first one we're going to do is at 4 1/4. But before I get to do these cuts, I'm going to a little bit of a cheat, or not necessarily a cheat, but so we don't have to score quite so often, is we're going to score on the 11 inch, so on the long side, at 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. So 2 3/4 inch, and I'm going to score all the way down. Hopefully you can see this. 2 3/4. I'm going to move it along and score at 5 1/2. Now I'm using my trimmer here, but if you have a scoreboard then you could use a scoreboard as well. So that gives me my 2 score lines there. Can you see just about? Hopefully, yeah. Then I'm going to turn it around 90 degrees onto my short side, and I'm going to cut the first one of my cuts, and that's at 4 1/4 inches. So that is the base of our card. Now I'm going to make at the front bit here. So the next cut I'm doing is this one that you can see here, and I've already got the score lines in it, so I'm using what's already left in the trimmer, and I'm going to cut, I want 3 pieces now cut at 1 1/4. So I'm going to move it along to 1 1/4 and cut. So that's one of them. Move it again to 1 1/4 and cut. And then last one at 1 1/4 and then cut. So again, so we've got a really tiny piece here, but I want you to keep that bit with the other bit we've just cut. So we have 3 pieces now that are 11 inches by 1 1/4. I'm going to put one of them to a side because that is then going to be our bit at the very bottom of the card. And then these 2 that we have here, what I want you to do is to put them on top of one another and line them up, and then see where the score lines are there. I'll just make them a bit more obvious. So the 2 score lines, I want you to put this one onto the 1 inch line below. So I know that that's the 1 inch there, and that follows down to there, and then I want you to cut on that side. So that's going to give me 1 inch on the far right side of your score lines. Then we're going to do the same on this side. We're going to cut another inch there. So, but this time I'm going to use the 1 inch on this side of the board. So I know that my 1 inch line is there. So put that down and cut and put that bit that's left over to one side. And then I have 2 pieces with the right folds in already. Okay. So I'm just going to pop those to one side as well with the other azure blue that we've already done. We're then going to take our lucky lime lemon twist, or lemon lime twist, and we're going to make our layers for the card here. So our first layer is looking to 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So I'm going to do my 5 1/4 by 4 inches. Pop that up the top, so that's the first one done. But I also want 5 1/4 and 1 inch, so I'm going to lift it back up again, pop it to 1 inch, because I already know this is 5 1/4. And that's another one. Then I need a 4 inch by 2 1/2 inch piece. So let's just check this and make this into 2 1/2 inches. And I need that to be 4 inches. I'm going to turn it around 90 degrees, so the long side at the top, and cut at 4 inches. So that's that one done. And now I need 2 1 inch by 2 1/2 inches. So I'm actually going to take the other piece that was left over. I need 2 1/2 inch by 1 inch. I'm going to cut 1 1/2 inch to start with. So that's my 1 inch, and then I want 2 1/2 times from this. This should give me 2 cuts. There's 1, and then move that to 2 1/2 again and cut there. So there's my 2. So I've done all of these pieces here. I'm then going to move on to the designer series paper, and we're going to go from here. So the first piece I want is going to go on top of the first piece here is the 5 3/4, 5 3 3/4 piece. So this is the bit here. But I'm going to use that as white paper. So I've put that as white, so you can do that 2 times. So one's for the back and one for the front. If you didn't want to have the white there, then you just do another layer of designer series paper and you can build it up how you want. So I'm going to move straight on to do this 5 3/4, which is this piece here. And I know, depending on your designer series paper, you might want a pattern to go a certain way, and I want my lines to go that way. I suppose it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to cut a 3/4 inch, and I'm going to use this side of my board because it's got more to line up at the top. I'm going to cut that at 3 1/2 inches. Sorry, at 3/4 inch, and I want that to be 5 inches long. Put that up there. Then I'm going to do my bit that I want on this part here, so the bit behind, but I also want to have, so I've done my long piece there, I want these 2 pieces here, and again these are a 3/4 inch by 2 1/4. So to make sure that my pattern is still the same, I'm going to keep and cut myself another 3/4 inch that way, and then from this rotate it 90 degrees and then cut it at 2 1/4 and 2 1/4. And 2 1/4. Pop them at the top, and from here put that bit away. Then I want my So I've done that one, the 5 3/4. I've done the 3/4 and 2 1/4. I want this piece here now, so 3 3/3 by 2 1/4. Now I want this bit here, I know this is the shorter piece of 2 1/4, and I want my zigzags to follow. If I cut it that way, then it could work. It doesn't really matter, I suppose. It'd be quite different, but I'm going to keep it all the same. So I know, looking at my measurements here, that that's my shorter one, so I need that to be 2 1/4. So I'm going to measure that at 2 1/4. Pop that to one side, and it needs to be 3 3/4. So turn it around 90 degrees and 3 3/4. So all these little pieces are spare, and I never throw anything away. So these are all my designer series papers been cut. So I'm going to keep those on top of my little pile. And now I'm going to cut my white card. So I want 2 lots of 5 by 3 3/4. So I'm going to cut 5 across the long edge. And then 3 3/4. Cut once. And then feed it through again. 3 3/4. So these are my 2 bits, one for the front and one for the back. So that's all the cutting that we need to do for this. Let's just check the camera's still straight and you can see everything okay. Let's bring it all back in to show. Right, so these are all the pieces, the designer series paper that we cut. These are all our lemon lime zest, our azure afternoon, and our white card. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually stick everything together, with the exception of the white card for the front. And the reason being is I'm going to stamp on that, and I don't want to stamp on it and make a mistake. If I make a mistake, I need to be able to know I can use the other side, or the emergency side. So the first thing we're going to do is put these 2 smaller pieces of the azure afternoon just up to the top with the white pieces. And then at the moment we cut our card like that. So our folds are that way around. Now remember, because it's a moving card as well, you need to get your bone folder or something to burnish each one so that they're nice crisp folds and it moves nicely. That's those ones. And then this one. And that one, unfold them back on themselves. Which way haven't I done that one? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to layer this one up. So I'm just going to glue those ones on there. Where's my glue going? I like using the Tombow because it has a little bit of movement in it once you put it on. It's not set in stone. And then make sure you're putting glue on the right side of your designer series paper. That's that one. And then the big one from this side is going to go here. Over here, like so. Just pop that up there. Then this one, we need to make sure that we're decorating the right side of our bendy bits. So originally it was cut like that with our score lines there. And what I need you to do is pop it down by the side and then turn it round 180 degrees. So that you have your first score line marries up with the second one on the top. Okay, does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. If not, pause it and just see what I did. So it was like that, where all the score lines marry up. I'm going to turn it round 180 degrees and it's there that way. Now you can start putting on your layers. In this way. And this one. And I think I might need a new glue. This one, they seem to go on forever and ever, these tubes of glue, don't they? I can always get a little bit more out. And then we're going to put on our designer series paper. That one. And 2. And more on 3. So that's our layers decorated so far. Let's put the white one on the back as well for writing on, because you need somewhere to be able to write. So I'm going to flip my over and make sure it's on the big side. Okay, let's flip it back. Right, before we go on to, we need to put that one on there, but before I do that, because we need to, that is going to fit on there. But before we do that, I want to decorate this white piece here. So if I just pop that up there with that, put the glue back on. Now I'm going to be using the Beautiful Balloons stamp set, nice polymer stamp set, and my ink pads here. So I've already preloaded up the ribbon, streamer, and I'm going to ink it up. And this was a new stamp pad, so it was really inky, so I moved some of the ink away, but can you see it's gone quite bubbly? It's gone back. There we go, that's better. And I'm going to just pop it down. That's one. Give it a quick clean with my chamois. Let's go for the blue one next, Azure Afternoon. Make sure it's loaded up. I'm going to overlay my streamers. Clean it up again. Let's put this away first before I land in it. Clean up. And last one, just make sure it's clean. Last one, or you can see where I stamped last on this one, look, because I've still got the streamer mark on it. And then I think I'm going to go like that way. So all the streamers I want to put on. Put that over there. Now I'm going to do a happy birthday sign. But you need to make sure you do it quite high up in this bit here. And the reason being is, don't forget, you're going to put your strip across the bottom. And if it's too low down, you won't see it because it might be hiding behind that. So you can do it now, or you can do it later once you've layered the card up. I know I want to put it back there. Okay. So that's my layer done for here. Bring it back. Let's put some glue on. I mean, I'm using Tombow glue. You might want to use double-sided tape. Do one of the roller tapes. So stamp and, oh, it was stamp and, that one, stamp and seal. Now, when it comes to popping this one on, you need to be mindful where you put your glue. So the first thing I want to say is we're going to line the 2 cards up, and I tap it on the bottom, then pop it down, and all your score line there in the middle should match up, and then it should be flush at the bottom. And then I lift this one up and I put glue all the way on there, and then I pop it down on there and hold it in place a little bit. And then once I've done that side, I lift this one up, but this time I only want glue on this side. So be mindful, I put my finger there, lift it up, and now I know I don't want to put any more glue than on that bit there. And then fold it back down again, then hold it in place. Oh, a bit too much glue there. So that now should, we'll just leave it for a little bit to settle and dry out a bit. So that is the base layer of the card done. You see there already, and it folds up nice and tidy and neat, and you've got a happy birthday there. But the fun part is making sure that it's all the pop-up and the balloons and everything. So remember these 2 strips that we cut at the very beginning? They should be the perfect size to fit into our box here. Can you see? Because we use the exact same measurements. So what you'll need to do is pop some glue or double-sided tape, whichever you prefer. I prefer using the glue still because it gives it a little bit more wiggle room if it doesn't go in quite right. So I put glue on both sides, open it up, and then I'm going to slide, I'm holding it back slightly with my fingers, slide it in, line it up with the bottom so it's level. And then you can either fold it that way and hold it in place, and hold everything down and just let the glue dry off a little bit. And then you might want to fold it back that way and just hold it. So just make sure that it folds nicely. So that's the first one in. And then the next one, we're going to do exactly the same as we did before. We're going to put the glue on the corners. And then they're folded in gently, slide it into position, and if you can see there, I've put it straight to the back so it's nice and level, and again fold it down flat and hold it straight. Hold it flat down there while it holds its place or dries out a little bit. And that's it, nice and moving zigzag, and hold it again and fold it down. Just make sure that all of our edges and folds fold nicely. So that is the basics of our pop-up thing. But then I hear you say, where are the balloons going to go? Where are the balloons? Well, using the dies from the beautiful balloon. Oh, drop some on the floor. This is the die set here. Now I've already pre-cut some of the balloons. It's an example of all the different sizes that we have, but I'm going to use these ones predominantly. You also have a lovely tag and some confetti and some stars. But for this one, I am just going to use the little balloons. So I've cut some out already. There's a selection of balloons here. In, was it Bubble Bath. Azure blue to match the back, and the yellow. So all these colours are in the nice stripes part of the kit. Now, do you remember I said to make sure you didn't throw everything away? Remember this little thin strip that we kept off the very end? This is just going to be perfect for creating our sticks for our balloons to go on. So what I do, because I like instant stuff, is I use my 3D foam pads, and I use the tiny ones in this instance, because they don't move or anything. So the first one I'm going to do is I'm going to put a nice big yellow balloon there, because that will stand out, and I'm going to put some 3D foam pads on there. Just pop that there. I'm then going to take my little sticks, and I'm just going to get a pair of scissors, pop them in there. So I know my balloon, I don't want it to be much higher than there, maybe. So I'm going to cut some strips that are about that long. So what's that? 2 inches, potentially. It's nothing too difficult. Maybe a couple of smaller ones. So I've got a few different options there. I'm going to put a nice big pink one behind on the back. And then the rest, so when we open that, you can see part of the balloon. Now these ones, what I do is I put a little 3D pad on the end, and then I stick a balloon on roughly, pop it there, making like little balloon lollipops. That one. one more. I'll do a pink one. A little pink one. How many more have we got? A couple more. Another one. What should we do? Another blue one. Okay. Then I get the balloons. How get it? Sorry, it's not really very funny. One on there, and then depending on where I want to strategically place it, I just take the backing off and pop it in. So there's no waiting for glue to dry. It's unlikely to get sticky. And it's also quite instant. So I've just put another one on the bottom there for the yellow one. Pop that one in. Now the only thing when it comes to making sure you fold when this folds is you need to make sure that when you pop your balloon in there, it doesn't go over the edge of the card, otherwise you won't fit it in the envelope. So something like there, and again being instant, that's just straight where it needs to be. Now it's a small one, so I think that's going to have to go, could go at the front like that. There. This one's, let's pop that one on there. I'll put there. I want a nice tall one. I think I need a little bit more height. Oh, I think we need another one down here, so maybe pop one on the front there. And maybe one in there. Let's see if we can get one in there, shall we? Yeah, so I need to cut myself another bit. So remember the strips that we kept? We can do exactly the same. But cut yourself with your rough cut, it doesn't really matter. And where did we say we wanted to pop that one there? And pop 3D foam that. There we are. So we've got quite a lot of balloons there. Oh, I've got another one there, look, a rogue one. See if we pop that one in there, that would be good. There we are. So what do you call it? What's the number for a lot of balloons? A plethora of balloons. I'm going to put one more down there. And there you have a 3D happy birthday balloon card. What's it got? A double Z fold card. Now I added a little bit more of sparkles on this one. So let's do the same for here. I love a bit of confetti. Now I'm going to pick out the green ones here because I've got some green in there. And we'll just pop some of these around. Put a little bit of sparkle. I think we need one down here. And there you have a 3D double Z fold card. And this one we've used the beautiful balloon set. But you could also use exactly the same methodology for the base card. And this one, I used some of my old designer series papers that I had and cut out some flowers and popped some flowers on. So it's made in exactly the same way, but using some older DSP designer series paper. But again, you can see how pretty that looks. And all it needs is a little sentiment of some format. And there you have a beautiful card, almost as nice as sending a real bunch of flowers. Anyway, thanks for listening and watching. As I said, this was all done in real time. So if you have any questions or anything or any comments, then pop them in the box at the bottom. All the measurements and everything will be included under there. But again, don't forget, I've got these down the side here. So whenever you feel, if you want, just pause it and stop and have a think as where you are and go from there. Thanks for joining me. Take care. Bye.